Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga. My name is Liam, and you know what, my shoulders are really starting to hurt. Mostly due to this channel having to bear the burden of carrying Hunter x Hunter content on its back, whilst we wait for Togashi's hopeful return to form. But today we're going to be optimistic by looking far into the future in order to decipher the ending of the series. And we're going to do that through you. Yes, you. Because I asked all of you association members to tell me how you think Hunter x Hunter will end. So I'm hoping that this process is like putting monkeys in a room full of typewriters and waiting for them to produce Shakespeare. And it's all going to begin with a quick round of Netero or Neta-No, a very simple minigame, the rules of which are as follows. 3 proud Isaac Netero stand before you. 1 is our beloved old man dude, whilst the other 2 are horrific Nen clones. And it's going to be your job to guess which one is the real Netero. Should you guess incorrectly, then your punishment will be to form a Nen vow by subscribing to the New World Review, which will also result in consistent injections of Hunter-based culture administered directly into your YouTube feed. And if you are correct, then Netero will give you a high five with the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, which, ow. So who is the Netero and which 2 are the Neta-Nos? Make your choice now and we shall reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and bam, it was this guy. So if you guessed incorrectly, then you know the thing to do, and please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the association. Welcome. But now, onwards with some Hunter x Hunter endings. Well, for starters, I'd like the show to continue. There are so many things I'd like to see till the end, which I think is a fair enough comment. Before an ending, I'm sure that we'd all like to see everything prior to said ending. But with that said, that's not really quite what I'm after here, so we're gonna look elsewhere. One last scene with Gon, Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika. I know it won't happen though. Yeah, I don't think it'll happen either, and for a couple of reasons actually. Dealing with all of the meta stuff first, even if we ever were to reach some sort of dark continent, the idea of Hunter x Hunter making it far enough to an ending beyond that, where we could see the potential reunion is, I'm gonna call it unlikely. But also, I just don't know if Kurapika is going to be making it out of this arc in any state to meet up with anyone. By which I mean, he's probably going to be a bit of, a bit dead. But I would of course love to see the 4 of them all together again. I mean, when was the last time that all of they were in the same room? All of they? All of them. When all of them were in the same room. It's got to be like all the way back in York New City because Kurapika decided not to come and see Gon on the verge of death during the chairman election, which, I'm gonna be honest, kind of a dick move there, Kurapika. Gon using the lessons he learned over the course of his journey to talk no jutsu Gyro into not ending humanity. And I like this idea a lot because it brings Hunter x Hunter full circle. I mean, firstly, I'm a pretty well-recorded supporter of Gon never being able to use Nen again, but that doesn't necessarily end his future involvement. Gon didn't have Nen during the Hunter exam, so he was forced to talk or even, dare I say, think his way out of most problems. Solve them creatively rather than solve them with a big fat aura punch thing rah. So I'd definitely be keen on seeing non-Nen Gon having learnt some lessons from delving too far into that well and saving the world through words of wisdom alone. Hot take, Gon going to Pito's grave saying I forgive you, which could mean how he outgrew that hatred and also forgave himself for what happened to Kite. And speaking of learning, this would be a big one. Although technically speaking, I highly doubt that Pito has a grave, but it would be quite something for Gon to return to the site of the battle and pay his respects to the creature that he brutally murdered. Maybe even take some responsibility like he did when Kite had to kill the fox bear to save his life. Because in the end, Gon is supposed to be a character who understands nature and is highly in tune with the ways of the animals. And Pito, as well as all of the Chimera Ants, certainly fall into that category. So it would be really cool for Gon to mature mentally to the point where he has an understanding of the ants, and maybe even come to view Pito differently. Sort of like what happened when Knuckle came to an understanding of Yuppie. That sort of mental maturity for Gon is really one of the more satisfying avenues of future growth for him if Gon needs to be in the series at all. Kurapika learning to let revenge go after Crollo becomes the last one standing. This is interesting actually. Because at first I read this and thought, Kurapika's already kind of abandoned his business with the troop, but there is a very golden opportunity here. Should the rest of the troop die in some sort of, Hisoka related incident, or even meet their ends via other avenues, then that would put Crollo in the exact same position that the troop put Kurapika in. Crollo would become the last remaining survivor of his kind, and after that, the ball is kind of in Kurapika's court. Does he sympathize with Crollo, or does he finish what he started by taking the head of the spider? Or does he do both, by putting Crollo out of his misery in order to prevent him becoming what Kurapika became? I don't know, but it's a fun idea, especially considering that Togashi has stated that both the troop and Kurapika's ultimate fates are to die. I honestly think one of the main reasons why Togashi won't continue the manga is because he is unsure how to end it when he gets to that point. Maybe. I mean, I think at least part of this statement is true. The part about Togashi not knowing how to end Hunt x Hunter is, that's probably the true bit. He just doesn't look anywhere near that far into the future. Hunt x Hunter almost feels like a more organic world that has no beginning and no end. We just got to peer inside it for a couple of years and see what was going on. But I don't think that lack of knowing an ending is what bothers Togashi, because he could not end the series just as easily by continuing the story on and on into infinity, because there's always going to be some sort of weird new thing he's interested in. Personally, I think it's a combination of physical ability and motivation. I find it almost impossible to do anything at all if I'm unmotivated. And if drawing manga causes you this untold physical pain, and keeping it real, if you're already sitting on a net worth of about $25 million dues, then I would say there's very little motivation to do anything, especially considering Togashi's love-hate relationship with manga as a whole. Killua still has so much growth. I hope his dad awakens his mortal Nen, and Killua has to maximize the fundamental assassin abilities, also his Nen abilities, to get close to his dad, but he will ultimately need Gon's help to take him out. I have mixed feelings on this one. On the one hand, Killua does feel pretty satisfyingly wrapped up to me. He ended his hunt and discovered what it is he wanted to do, which was to take care of Alaka. But there is definitely a lot of unfinished business within the Zoldyck family itself. Forgetting about Silver for a bit, there's also Illumi, who is actively targeting Killua in order to control Alaka, so he does seem primed to become a potential major antagonist. But at some stage in his life, Killua is going to need to come to terms with what he is and what he comes from, and as much as we shouldn't take foreshadowing in this particular series with any degree of seriousness, there was that one time where Silver stated that he knew Killua would return one day, so it would tie everything up quite neatly, which is very much why I don't think it will happen. Hunt x Hunter is very rarely a neat kind of story. Things happen, those things have consequences, and then we move on with our lives without any sort of narrative resolution. I remember hearing I think that means it. I remember hearing it was supposed to be as long as One Piece. So if it was that long, I'd love to see Gon grow up and see his powers fully develop if he gets them back, and watch Killua take over his family's empire. So with the One Piece thing, here is a wild statistic. One Piece began serialization in July 1997, and Hunt x Hunter began almost exactly 8 months later in early 1998. However, currently One Piece has over 1,000 chapters, 1,033 at the time of recording this, whilst Hunt x Hunter hasn't even tipped over that 400 mark. And I think that shows the impact these hiatuses have had on the series more than anything else. To think that if Togashi had been consistent, we'd be looking at Hunt x Hunter possibly hitting the 1,000 chapter mark very soon, if not already, which is a pretty insane thought. Not that I necessarily think the story would have gotten that far, but at the very least I imagine it would be well and truly finished. I don't want it to ever end. Instead, I want it to continue to switch from main character to main character after the previous one completes his or her goal or dies. So without considering the meta state of Hunt x Hunter, that is entirely possible. Weirdly enough, Hunt x Hunter has transitioned from a protagonist-led shonen into a full-on ensemble cast. Even outside of Gon, Killua, Leorio, and Kurapika, you can find a captivating protagonist absolutely everywhere. And the Succession War very much proves that more than anything. We have entire chapters with just the Phantom Troop, or following the Zodiacs, or in fact even the Karkin Princes. The princes are captivating, of all people. Or during the Palace Invasion, where everyone involved served as both a protagonist and an antagonist. Emphasis on the ant in antagonist. But I'm always perfectly happy in Hunt x Hunter to have characters like Moral or Knuckle appear and become lead protagonists for a while, and that's before we even dive into the potential of existences like Jing or Hisoka, who could probably command entire series of their own, like the beginning, with everyone running the Hunter's exam. Now you see, that would be a lovely bookend, so lovely in fact that it can never ever happen. I could imagine this being the case if Hunt x Hunter was a more standard shonen. After the big final arc thing, we have this great epilogue where we can see a grown-up Gon step out into a crowd and say, "My name is Gon Freaks, and welcome to the first stage of the Hunter exam." Because it would be a great bookend to show how much progress everyone has made since they were examinees way back in the early days. Not in this series though, I can't see that happening with what Hunt x Hunter became. Although point of interest here, Gon is still technically a hunter, right? Hunters can't ever have their licenses revoked, so even without being able to use Nen, he's still a member of the association. So maybe there is hope for an ending like this yet. Jing finding Don and learning about all the secrets of the Dark Continent, perhaps even deciding to stay there or returning gloriously. So I like this, but I'd even take it one step further. Like saying perhaps Jing meets Don on a fully grown world tree, mirroring the scene where Gon met Jing in the human realm. And then Don tells Jing about the even darker continent that lies beyond his grasp, and about a book he found written by the ancient John freaks. And just to clarify, that's a bit of a joke, but there is some great potential for all of Hunter x Hunter to be this endless cycle of Freaks family members discovering one another, as well as their place in this world. All I know is that the Freaks family is stupidly important, more so than many of the characters of Hunter x Hunter seem to realize, if any actually. So it would be great to delve into their history a bit more, and I guess I'll just throw that onto the ever-growing pile of things that Togashi probably doesn't care about in the slightest. Gon being able to perfectly control his OP transformation and use it to beat his father who left him. Also, Meruem and Netero stays alive after their fight and become friends. Wow, that second one's very left field, but about Gon. If we ever did go in the direction of him learning how to use Nen again, the question of the transformation would come up, because it's entirely possible that it's a whole new ability he developed, similar to that of Bisky, except the cost of developing this Hatsu was essentially Gon's life. However, having circumvented that through the godly being that is Nanika, that could leave Gon in a situation where he has more casual access to the adult transformation if and when he regains Aura control. I really hope not though. I would like to see my favorite characters alive and happy, particularly the main four, Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio. You know, thinking about it, the only challenge here is Kurapika. Leorio can easily have a happy ending, he actually has a pretty sweet life throughout the series. Killua, he already kind of has his happy ending already, and Gon is a cheerful young lad again, so the only one really dragging this team down is Kurapika, who seems absolutely intent on throwing himself into as much misery as possible for the sake of collecting a series of eyeballs. How would I like it to end? I'd say yes. Fair enough. As is this next video, because there's always more to learn, explore, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.